Thank you for tuning in to the Northeast region's headquarters for hunting-related stories and tactics, sourced from DIY hunters and industry insiders. This is Hunting the Empire. Now here's your host, Joe Mainville.
Hey everybody, Joe here with another episode of the Hunting the Empire podcast. You're going to really like this show today. I really enjoyed recording it. Had a blast talking with these guys. You're getting about an hour show. But Byron and Dave from the Whitetail Experience, we ended up talking, the three of us, for almost 3 hours. It was like a little over 2.5 hours. And I kind of wish I kept recording, but it was a lot of fun talking with these guys. So down to earth, knowledgeable, and just fun dudes to talk to that I know you're really going to enjoy this show. We talk a lot about they hunt Ohio and they're public land hunters. We talk about their run and gun style, early season, mid season, rut, late season, all their tactics and kind of some gear that they use, and a lot about their scouting practices and kind of what they're doing in this off season, and man, a whole bunch more. So I think you're really going to dig some information out of this. We had talked on there about shooting and shooting some bows. Why wouldn't we? It's a deer hunting podcast. This one definitely is. And it reminded me I'm not sponsored by Elite in any way. But as most of you know, if you follow me on social media, I picked up a new Elite ritual, and I'm just going to say, like, if you're looking for a bow in the off season, if you're going to be out shooting them and thinking about picking up a new bow, I would recommend test out the ritual. If you're going to be at the shop testing out a bunch of bows anyway, do yourself a favor, shoot the ritual, test it out. Mine, I ended up buying a 60-pound bow instead of 70. Been having some shoulder problems, sent some rotator cuff tears a few years ago, and that the 60 pounds with, I think I've got like an 85% let off or something on it. I feel like I can hold that bow for like 2 weeks. It's crazy. But it really, the smoothness of the draw, doesn't have a harsh draw cycle whatsoever, drops down into the back wall really nice. It's just it's awesome to shoot. And it's really, for the first time in quite a while, makes me enjoy archery again. I've had a couple of speed bows that kind of made me feel like I was just holding back so much weight. I'd always say, like, holding back a freight train. Well, this ritual, I feel like I'm just holding back nothing. It's such a joy to shoot. It really is a great bow. So, again, that's just my honest opinion. So if you're out there going to be at a shop anyway, testing out some new bows, do yourself a favor. Check out the ritual. Shoot it and see what you think. And if you end up testing one, shoot me a message and let me know what you think, because I'm just curious to see what other people's opinion of it are. But without further ado, I want to get into this show with Dave and Byron. Again, had a blast talking with these guys, and I really appreciate their time, and I'm sure that you guys are going to enjoy this one too. So here we go. All right, we're rocking and rolling here, and on the horn with me today, I've got Byron and Dave from the Whitetail Experience. How we doing, guys?
Doing well, man. Thanks for having us.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, no, really appreciate you guys coming on. So we've been chatting a little bit before we hit record, so we'll probably pick up where we left off. But for everybody out there, who are you guys? And kind of what's your background? What do you do for a living? What's your elevator spiel?
Yeah, so like the Whitetail Experience, we are a small production team, kind of specializing in public land hunting production. Our kind of niche is, like, we do this thing on a budget. We try to produce as good a quality films and short videos that we can. try to be a little bit different in that public land aspect, always running and gunning and hunting ground that most guys can relate to, and try to put out a cleaner product than most guys running around with handy cams.
Yeah, and I first found you guys on Instagram and really liked the content that you had there. And then shortly after that, within a week or two, I think I discovered your YouTube channel, and you guys do really good work on that. Your editing and the filming that you do is just it's good stuff, guys.
Well, we appreciate it. That's all Byron though. Byron does all of our editing. I just film it and just send it his way and say, good luck.
Yeah, Dave's the talent.
Well, it's got to start with the filming, but editing is it's a voodoo. It's an art in itself.
Yeah, and then filming is too. Once you start actually creating films and stuff, you start to, like, I can help him out tremendously more now than I knew how to help him out 2 years ago. Like, I know the shots that we need. I know, just as far as the filming aspect of it goes, it makes a world of difference in helping him out on his end in the editing world.
Yeah. Do you guys film with a regular camcorder or using DSLRs?
We all run DSLRs now.
Okay.
It just seems to be I don't know. You can manipulate the shot to look how you want it to look. It's a decent way to go. Though you got to know your camera. And it's a little bit more difficult to self-film. So there are some trade-offs there.
Yeah, I think that's why I never really got into it, because I do, I'm kind of a lone wolf, so I do all my own filming. And just when I went to buy a new camera, I'm like, I know I'll get better quality out of the DSLR, but the trade-off is going to be the user friendliness when I'm trying to operate it myself. So I ended up going with a camcorder, but I really love the look that those DSLRs give now.
Yeah.
What do you guys do for a living? What's your day stuff look like? And
Byron's an accountant, so that's fits naturally with him that he handles most of our expenses as a team and does kind of that whole that whole side of things. I'm a city worker. I work maintenance for a local municipality, so I get tons of time off and I get a bunch of vacation time, so it actually works out good for my hunting schedule. But I know Byron, he's a little tighter on his schedule when we can take off and stuff. That's we're working guys. We work for 40+ hours a week. It makes for tough to try to find time to get in the woods, and then you hunt public land, and you get hunts ruined by other people and stuff, and it really limits your true quality hunts per year. But we seem to do the best we can, and we seem to do a pretty good job, I guess.
Yeah, I think you guys definitely seem like you're doing all right, but definitely preaching to the choir on, maximizing your time in the woods when you have those opportunities, because they seem to be few and far between, and the longer I do it, the fewer and the far between it gets.
Exactly. I mean, so I have a child. We both have me and Byron both have fiancés. They're both very understanding, and it makes it a little bit easier for us to get out in the woods. But you really start to count your hunts on a few hands when you start to get into that world of, your work schedule, your vacation, your family time, getting hunts ruined by other people on public land, just dealing with weather, and you really get you really start to lower the number of quality hunts, quality sits you get in a season. I mean, they really start to dwindle down quickly when you throw all those things into it. And then we're trying to film, and it definitely makes it for a struggle sometimes.
No, yeah, I can definitely appreciate that. I know once my wife and I started having some kids around, and especially in the past, year or so, we've also doubled our family side with some foster kids. So I know a lot of my sits last year, I used to do a lot of all days, even in the early season, just because I had very little time to get out to the woods. So I wanted to maximize it, and I'd do all day sits because I wanted to be out in the woods.
Yeah, definitely.
And this past year, it's just been a lot of evening sits. So I know my hours in the woods have really cut down, but I think I had more quality even in those less hours, because it really made me focus on making sure I was in good areas and good times, and the wind was, in my favor 100%. And I think maximizing those times when I was in the woods, I don't know, I think it's made me more efficient and better of a hunter, knowing that my opportunities are kind of few and far between.
Yeah, no doubt.
So you guys, you 100% public, or do you do any private or permission as well?
Pretty much 99% public. My family has a small piece that I'll film my fiance on, but you'll ask me every day of the week, I'd rather shoot a public land buck. Oh
yeah, definitely with you on that one. It's just a different feeling when you have to work for it as hard as most public land hunters do.
Well, and then, a lot of, not too many people, like he says his family has a small private piece. It's like 18 acres. So, how often can you really hunt 18 acres anyways? You got 3 to 5 quality sits a year,
yep.
On 18 acres. So you almost, if you actually want to hunt, you have to hunt public, or you just want to blow out your whole property,
Yeah. And that's really how we got started. I started hunting some public ground in college, and Dave was already doing that, and we kind of knew each other. And a couple of years post college, we started hunting a lot more public ground together, just because I saw he had some success, and I wanted to improve my public land hunting skills. And as you develop as a hunter, you realize, oh man, this small acreage, you can't hunt very much just because you educate them every time in and out. So I started really diving in heavy to the public land game. And I can't say enough about my partner across the table. We make a great pair as far as bouncing ideas off each other, improving each other's, pointing out different factors. And I think it really helps to have a good hunting partner in developing your public land game.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something, with me hunting a lot by myself, I've been looking, I don't know, maybe in Farmers Only or something. I got to get on there and try to see if I can find a hunting buddy. But,
yeah.
I've never, it's very few opportunities I've had to go out with other people, and I love doing it. But, I can definitely see the benefit in having somebody else going out with you, bouncing off ideas, more people to kind of look at things and just get a different perspective than just yourself, and maybe cover more ground. I see as a real.
Oh yeah, too. Dude. Dave, for example, this year was hunting a lot late season, and we were kind of bouncing what spots we could go after. And even if I wasn't filming him, I was getting information from him as far as, okay, he's hunting spot A. Here's what he saw. Here's what he thinks he needs to improve upon for the next time he would hunt that spot late season. When we scout, if we go into a bedding area, we can each take different routes and be looking for different beds. And we can really do a better job scouting, relaying information. And then when it comes to tactical and strategy, we can bounce ideas off each other and remember, different things that we've heard that we want to apply. It's a game changer. I think a good hunting partner doesn't necessarily have to be someone you also hunt with, but comparing notes and sightings, and you may hunt the same ground or maybe not necessarily the same ground, but to compare notes is huge.
Well, it's just trust in that person too. If I know that if Byron goes into an area or a piece or a new spot that we've been kind of wanting to check out, if you can go in there and he goes and tells you what he saw, if you can believe that, that's huge. Sometimes you send people in areas to check things out, and you're just kind of like, okay, I hear what you're saying, but I'd like to see it for myself.
Yeah.
If you got a really good hunt partner that you trust, you take what he says to the bank, and if you guys are seeing eye level on the same hunt strategies and as far as what you're seeing in the woods and sign everything, then you're good to go.
Yeah. Is it just the two of you guys in the Whitetail Experience, or do you have more members on the team?
No, we got one other guy, Andy. He killed the bigger buck this year with the bow.
Okay.
He's the workhorse, the grunt man of the group. And then we recently added a new guy who Dave went to school with, and we always felt he'd be a good mix to the team. He's really knowledgeable. But we just added him literally this spring, and he went out turkey hunting with us. Kyle, he's been he actually just killed a bear literally last week. So
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, he's been a great addition, and he'll only improve the Whitetail Experience final product for sure.
Yeah, and then we have I guess we could call him he's a good friend / rookie to the hunting industry, Big Zoe. He's yet to kill a buck, and we can't wait till he does. And he's a good time to have around. He's a good guy to have in the tree with you, and he's just the team rookie, I guess you could say.
Well, every team's got to have one.
Exactly, and then you could probably ask him. He's learned tremendously, I'm sure, these last few years. He's just soaking it up.
Yeah, and tell me that won't be like a cool film when he does kill a buck. Like, we can put together, he's had a run of hitting a Pope and Young deer in the shoulder, missing a 150 twice, and this year missed like a 140. Like, he's had some struggles. And dude, it's just going to be epic when it does come together. And I think that will show really well as far as people seeing a guy kill his first deer and what all he's gone through. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people can relate to that.
That's going to be a really cool moment when that all comes together for him, and to have all of that history behind him is going to be that's going to be something to see.
Definitely. I mean, I've killed a few deer, and if I kill one or if I miss one, like, I'm damn near in tears. And I can't imagine what he's going to be feeling like after he finally, you put in all that work and time and stuff, and then we finally achieved that. That's something that people don't understand, and some people that, don't understand how can you shoot this Bambi and everything. Like, you go out and you work hard, and you go in early morning, you put in the time, you scout, you sit in tree stands for hours and hours. Then when a deer walks by, you're going to shoot it and you're going to be ecstatic.
Yep.
There's no way around it.
Yeah. Well, I think too, it's a misconception, you said, killing these Bambis and stuff, but, some of the, I don't know, I mean, we can call ourselves conservationists, but some people who are the most passionate about these wildlife, especially deer, are hunters. When I talk to them, they're far more educated on the life of a whitetail than anybody who's, I guess, defending the rights of them or what they think. But, it's kind of a crazy world, obviously.
100%. I mean, just listen to Ranella talk,
Oh,
he's one of the most knowledgeable people out there.
You aren't kidding. Oh yeah, I get lost in listening to him. It just sounds fantastic. For the Whitetail Experience, how long have you guys been doing? How long has it been around? I guess since its culmination.
Yeah, I think this is year 3 of the Whitetail Experience, and it kind of got started. Dave and I had been hunting together for a bit, and we kind of felt like we had got tricked by what I'll call the Outdoor Channel early in our careers. We were, thinking we could hunt like those guys and apply those tactics to our ground and be shooting 150s. Dave and I had both talked about at times when we were hunting, even in college, we were passing bucks that would have been our biggest buck to date because we're like, dude, we're going to shoot 140s all day. So we started the Whitetail Experience to kind of put a product out there that was more relatable, kind of that public land aspect. I feel like gives us that unique vibe. But we're going on year 3, and it's kind of grown a little more than we ever really thought. Seems to be a pretty passionate following for what we do.
I think you guys are lying to me though, because you hunt in Ohio and there's 200-inch deer behind every tree.
well, let me ask you this. Okay, what is the first big buck state to the east?
Yeah, there you go.
Ohio.
Right.
Who gets the Michigan, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia guys to come across the border?
Yep.
You're not going to Illinois or I was the draw system, Kansas. Who has the lowest tag for big buck states for out-of-staters to come? I mean, we see it every year, starting, I'll call it Halloween. Dude, the out-of-staters flood in. Actually, the piece Dave and I killed deer on for gun season, we were the only Ohio tag in the parking lot.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. How's
Virginia, Maryland?
Well, you're going to have me from New York out there this year.
I don't blame you. We do have good deer, but we're not Iowa, but we got good deer, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I just like traveling and hunting. I'm going to be coming in the early season So it's going to be a lot different, I'm sure, than I'm hoping there'll be less pressure because I'm coming early season.
You need to hope that the acorn mass is bad, actually, because then when you find the handful of trees that are dropping, you can find them. Or early season, that is.
Yeah, I'm going to be coming out there in August to do a little scouting, and I'm hoping by then I should be able to tell what trees are producing and what aren't.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you will. Yeah, you bring your binos, you definitely will be able to tell.
I was surprised today. I was out scouting some cornfields here in central New York and came across a white oak tree, and it already had little, you could see where just coming out of the flowers there was going to be some acorns on it. So I thought that was cool already.
See, we had a problem a few years back when all the acorns dropped like super early, like way earlier than usual. So the deer were still obviously out in the beans and stuff. And then by the time they transitioned to the woods, a lot of the acorns that have fallen, at least the white oaks, the sweeter ones, had all rotten almost.
Okay.
So it made it for it made it for tough hunting to a point. But if you knew what white oak was dropping right then and there, I mean, you were on them. It was almost like a feeder.
Wow. That's weird. Last year,
you get those bad mass years make for good deer hunting if you know what trees are dropping.
Yeah, and see that's the problem we had out here in New York last year is that it was such a good mass year that bucks didn't have to move at all. I mean, they
Exactly.
get up, they eat, and lay back down.
They'll even chomp on them while they're laying down.
Yeah. Oh, it made it so difficult last year. I mean, just deer were not moving because there was so much mass everywhere.
Yeah, some of the better areas that I've found throughout the years are, if you walk, say, 200 acre-ish of a piece and you find very minimal oaks, then those oaks are going to be the money spot. I mean, that's kind of like another, I guess, a little tidbit to look for when you're scouting. Like, if you're not seeing oaks, then that's almost a good time because then all you need to do is find the oaks and then you know where they're going to be, in October.
No, that's definitely a good tip. Let's dive into a couple of these. So your Ohio public land. What's the terrain like out there? Is it like farm ground roundabout? Is it flat, hilly? Kind of, what do you guys deal with out there?
Yeah, we hunt like a variety of what I'll call habitats and terrains. We spend a few hunts in the big woods just because I'm kind of obsessed with that. But then we kind of dive into some wildlife areas with a kind of a mix of agriculture and woodlot kind of intermingled with even some CRP and field edge or old field edges. Terrain varies from flatter ground on the western side of the state and the glacier kind of came through. So then our eastern side and even like the southeastern portion of the state, you kind of get into some major rolling hills. So we kind of do it all. And I think that makes us better deer hunters overall to go to different habitats and key in on different things.
Yeah, it sounds pretty diverse out there.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you can go from flat ground and northwest Ohio, like you said, to southeast Ohio, and you're in some pretty big hills. And then, you go east and you got a lot of strip mines, and which is like, you got your big cliffs and your ponds down below. And I mean, it's you kind of have it all, I guess you could say, to a point.
What are you guys doing this time of year? I know you talked about scouting. Have you already done your spring scouting, or are you guys still at it?
So we just wrapped up heavy turkey season here. Dave and I killed 2 birds, so that was nice. But during that time, we're like not only trying to call in some birds, but Dave and I are deer hunters first. So what do you think when they shut up? What are we doing?
Yeah.
Yep. Let me interject. This is our first year actually going after turkeys. So we could say we were turkey hunting, but we were just out there just scratching some slate and hoping something got.
It sounds like you hooked up with something. So at least it was successful.
It was like skunked multiple days in a row, being right on them and just blowing opportunities. And then all of a sudden, one day, somehow we killed 2.
We doubled it.
I don't know. That kind of sounds like my deer hunting.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, the only reason we really knew those were birds, the birds were there, is from the winter scouting. We do hit it pretty hard, even starting during season. I was scouting it heavily in December once I had tagged out. Dave was still hunting at that point, but as soon as season ends, it's literally a weekly venture to a piece of public and get as many boots and guys into the woods as we can. We kind of have a hunting journal on YouTube with kind of like the weekly progress and what we're seeing. It's like 2 to 4 minutes of video, real quick. Try to drop like 3 to 5 nuggets of information. But yeah, as of now, it's like, you'll laugh. We'll get off this phone call. Dave and I are going to draw up the trail cam deployment strategy for the next couple of weeks.
There you go. So you're starting to put out, well, obviously you're going to think about putting out cameras. How long do you guys usually put them out for?
So like I said, we need to we're literally going to sit down after this conversation and figure out a strategy for cameras. That starts with, so in our pre-scouting and like in the winter, like we mentioned, we found like large tracks. We found like good beds, big scrapes, tall rubs, all that whole 9 yards. So those areas that we're not necessarily going to throw a camera into. There's no reason to make intrusion into an area that we already know there's a big buck. Like we trust the sign that we found. Tracks in general. I mean, tracks are huge. Tracks mean a lot to us. We find a good track in the area. We know there's a big buck in the area. We don't need to confirm his size with a camera. So we're throwing these cameras now into areas that are, I guess maybe like thicker areas that we're just trying to, like new areas, trying to find out if there's deer there for one, if there's a good buck there for two, and if it's a buck that's worth chasing. Or we have some areas in the past that we know have been good to hold big deer, but we don't necessarily know for sure that there's a good one in there. Those are an area that we'll throw a camera into to find that there's for sure a good one in that area that we definitely want to pursue this year. So we're going to try to get, a handful of cameras out now, and then we'll probably pull them
a month-ish.
Yeah, maybe give it a month and a half-ish. And then we'll transition them to pretty much like your soaking areas that we just want to leave them soak until basically either we go in there and hunt or for, even longer than that sometimes.
Okay. So, for this early season, well, I guess, I don't know. I'm still considering it early season. You're putting them out there mostly as kind of an inventory type thing. And then when you pull them later, you'll move them. And then those are kind of what you're hoping to pull more information to pattern something later on. Yeah.
Like, probably 70% of our cameras will kind of be exploratory cameras, like newer areas, trying to get some eyes in new pieces and hopefully gain information as far as shooters in an area. Our big rule with trail cams is how many 3.5-year-olds can we find in the summer to then target in the fall?
Yeah.
Because this is public land. There's not necessarily giants behind every tree. So, our game is to learn and move. How many can we find? Because a squirrel hunter can go in there the first day of small game season and blow your deer, over onto the private. So, you can't bank on one deer being there all year.
Yep. No, absolutely. How many cameras did you say you're running?
Oh, geez. I'll call it from the team 7 to 10.
Okay.
Maybe, yeah.
Somewhere in there.
How many acres are you spreading those out around? Multiple pieces of property, I'm assuming?
Oh, multiple, yeah.
Yeah, there won't be a camera at the same piece, I want to say. And we hunt like 7 counties.
Okay.
So they will be spread. It would be rare for us not to at least move a camera to a new area, even if it's the same piece of public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys, so you're hunting public land. Are you doing any, I don't know what the rules and regs are in Ohio. Are you putting up tree stands ahead of time, or are you running and gunning?
Yeah, we're running gun.
Okay.
Definitely. Also you can't bait. So the cameras, as far as like some of the camera strategy goes, obviously you got your trail intersections. If you see a good track on the trail, you throw one up on that trail. Scrapes, because deer will, like, scrapes are almost like a checkpoint, I guess you could say. If you know there's a big scrape that's there every single year, the deer and the bucks will revisit those scrapes
even in the summer.
Yeah, all throughout the year. They won't necessarily like tear it up, and they might like rub their glands on the branch and stuff, but they're just going to it's just almost like a just like a checkpoint that they make like on their rounds and stuff every occasionally.
Yeah.
Just to see what's going on and who's been in the area and whatnot. So we'll throw them on those. Some of our known year long every year scrapes. We'll throw cameras on those. But
I like creek crossings or any sort of like watery source, because not only can I get information from hanging that trail cam over a creek crossing, if there's multiple creek crossings, I'll glance at a couple different crossings and get tracks. I'll be looking for a big track. I can kind of gain some intel multiple ways there if I hang it over some sort of creek or water type crossing.
Yeah. You might go pull that camera and not get a big buck on it, but as you're pulling it, like you said, you might see a good track crossing that creek. You just got to believe in the sign that you see.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the sign, it's got to trump cameras at some point, because that deer came through there at some point. So,
yeah, I mean, like you said, you talked to Greg. I don't even think he runs cameras,
Well, I don't in New York. Most people don't realize it, but because they run cameras anyway. But it's actually illegal to run cameras on public ground in New York State, because they consider it leaving your personal property. And I mean, people still run them, but you're technically not supposed to. So I think it's kind of overlooked in most areas, but I've been in a couple publics that, and I've been stopped by officers asking me, if I'm out there summer scouting or something, asking me if I'm putting out trail cameras, and it's some like $250 fine or some junk.
Jeez.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know. So I don't generally run them, which I miss, because when I used to hunt permission ground years ago, that was my summer pastime, was running cameras. So
yeah,
I definitely miss it. Yeah.
And to get back on your I guess your original question, we kind of got off on a little bit of a tangent. I'm not. I think you can leave stands out on public. I think throughout the duration of the season, I think they need to come down at the end. But as far as I know, I think if you hang a permanent stand, I think it kind of becomes public. Like, I think anybody can kind of go up and get in it if they want to.
Interesting.
Don't quote me on this. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
We hang and hunt. Yeah, we don't leave our stands. So, actually, I've never looked into it too much, I guess.
No, fair enough. You guys using climbers or sticks in a hang on, or what's your setup look like?
So we used to use a lot of climbers. That's kind of how we got started. We've been doing this for like 10 years as far as the public land game. So naturally, we had the climbers, like the $100 climbers to start with, and we evolved to better climbers. And now we're sticks and stands. We've been doing that for the better part of 3 or 4 years. Yeah. So a couple of years now. We even do it during gun season. My favorite is go 2 sticks high. Just enough to really see and still be able to pass up a weapon from the floor to your other guy, and you can get in a tree pretty quick and move and adjust.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I mean, even during gun season, I'm generally out with my bow. I don't know. I guess I'm partial to it, and I take the gun out sometimes, but I guess I'm using I'll go out like late gun season with my shotgun, and I walk quite a bit, and I'm just using it mostly as scouting time. And if I come across something, then all right. But I'm mostly thinking about bow season next year. Yeah,
100%. I mean, we'd much rather hunt with our bows, but I guess if whatever legal weapons in season, that's probably where we're going to be.
Yeah, why not?
Wielding.
Yeah, Dave will be taking my 870 and my muzzle loader. Just a side note.
Yeah,
he tends to borrow a lot.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do.
Exactly.
We use his guns in my spots, and we kill deer. So
that sounds like a good trade-off. All right. So, what's your season look like? So, what kind of tactics are you using? Let's start in like early season. So you've pre-scouted some spots. You've got some areas picked out. You maybe got some deer targeted. What's your early season look like? What kind of features are you hunting, or you're looking at terrain? Are you looking at food? You're looking at buck beds, or kind of what's your strategy look like for early season?
Okay, so early season, we're definitely looking at buck beds and food. Like I said, if we got a bad acorn year, those white oaks that are within a few hundred yards of a pre-scouted buck bed are, about as good as it gets. And we're going to sit on those. Or just any other known food sources that are semi-close to a buck bed. Like you said, like when the acorns are dropping really good, them bucks do not have to move far, and they will get up before dark and move 50 to 60 yards, and that's it, because they're eating on acorns the whole time they're walking. So it makes it tough. But early season, basically we're targeting buck beds, because that's just, we're doing that all the way up until, I'll say, the 21st through 23rd of October.
Okay.
We're going to throw. So we're semi new to the buck bed strategy, to the Dan Impulse stuff, and to the Greg Lissinger stuff, and all the buck bed, hunting beast style talk you've heard, I guess.
Yeah.
We're semi new to that. So, but we have a handful of beds that we've found over the last few years, and we're definitely going to throw a sit at every one of those beds, before the 25th of October, I'll say. We'll throw one sit at all those beds.
Yeah. And we also do a little, I don't know, if we're trying to shoot a doe, it's a little different game than if we're trying to kill a buck. If weather's average and we, Dave and I need a doe in the freezer, we may set up on more obvious stuff like an oak flat, or a transition line out of a known doe bedding area.
Close to the road.
Early season we can hunt the spots that are not as deep and not as far, and generally we won't hit the big woods early season because those deer can be almost anywhere.
You got all the foliage still up, so they're not necessarily they're not needing to be too far from the houses and too far from the roads and stuff, because all that foliage is still up, so that they have no problem, the does at least have no problem coming in close to the road and feeding on some acorns. And so we'll go in there and whack a doe every once in a while, if we just want to go in there and get that done. Like you said, if it's like a marginal weather or something like that. But if we get a cold front or like an overhead moon or something, we're definitely going to give a buck bed a try.
So when you're, obviously you said you're new to beast tactics, but when you're looking at these buck beds for the pieces that you've found them, I guess, out there in Ohio with kind of the diverse terrain that you have, where are you finding those buck beds? Is it like a certain elevation or cover? I come from, here in central New York. The pieces that I hunt are all hill country. So that's kind of, where I'm targeting buck beds. But what's it look like out there in Ohio where you guys are kind of all over the place?
Joe, this is Byron. I'll start and I'll toss it to Dave on a totally different habitat, because I know what buck bed he's thinking of. 2 years ago, I found a set of antlers, a matching set, which was nice. And it was in what I'll call hill country, big woods type environment. And it was semi-southern or western, I guess southern or eastern facing slope. It was definitely on that top third that everyone talks about with the wind tunnel. But you'll laugh, this buck was overlooking a hiker trail. And he's a smart he was a smart 2.5-year-old. And the local pressure was actually coming in from a direction he could smell most of the time. And he was definitely a smart 2.5-year-old. We got pictures of him that summer throughout the months of July and August, and literally exiting the bed. Like, I was like, dude, I'm going to try and hunt this buck. And I threw, I think, 2 sits at it hard prior to rut. Never saw him. Hunted in that area a few other times. But Dave's got another buck bed that he's thinking of that's in a totally different type of habitat. I'll let him explain that.
Which one are you talking about?
Oh, the one we found it this winter with that we're going to target.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. So this one we found is in. So this one we found was just in some really tall, like just brutal crap to get through, and he just got his little sanctuary right in the middle, and he's got a steep drop off on one side. He's got the predominant wind blowing across a field, like an ag field, so he can smell everything coming across the ag field. He's got his escape route down this steep cliff. It's steep for people, but deer will use those as escape routes, no problem.
Yeah.
And it's in a flatter type terrain.
Yeah, it is. It's mainly flat, but he's got his escape routes, and he's really, he's got all the advantages to him. I mean, we're going to try to set up on him this year, and we're going to have to really tiptoe into this piece through the stick stuff, and
may not even use a stand.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
Wow.
But I'll throw in one. So everybody, we're looking the same places that I'm pretty sure everybody's learned to look from infalt as far as buck beds and stuff go. Leeward side, 130 elevation, your points, your back to cover, can see in front of you, all the kind of common knowledge if you followed infalt's information.
Yep.
I'll throw in one thing a little bit different that I'll throw into the mix, just as far as my public land experience, what I've seen. So a lot of your public pieces will have hiking trails, and a lot of your public pieces will have just houses that surround the public area. So I think the bucks bed and they know those things, so they bed in accordingly. So they will go against some of the common rules, because they want to be able to smell and see and keep tabs on the places where they know the people are at. It's like a keep your friends close, your enemies closer type of mindset. Like they know that they see people in these people's backyard all the time, but they want to be watching to make sure that if they step 5 feet inside that wood line, oh crap, they're in danger. They got to get out of there. And they want to keep tabs on these hiking trails because they know where they're at. They see people at every day. These hikers go 10 yards off the trail, boom, they're out of there, and they're dropping down to a deep ravine or something like that, and they're gone. So you got to throw people into the equation in some of these public pieces that I guess have like higher people pressure, but may not have like the hunter pressure, but just people in general, hikers, horseback riders, just neighboring houses, that whole 9 yards. I've definitely thrown that into the mix on top of everything I've learned from the beast/infalt strategy of finding buck beds.
Yeah, Joe, and I'll throw this at you. I feel like 80% of the buck beds I have found, and we've been doing this now for, like I said, 3 or 4 years, trying to really learn these buck beds. I would say 80% of the buck beds I find, they have a distinct visual advantage on their surroundings. I think for years I felt like bucks would bed in the thickest, nastiest, gnarliest stuff. But the more I look for buck beds, the more I realize, dude, these guys are bedding solo. They have to rely on everything, and they're definitely still using their eyes and have a good line of sight to what I'll call the better part of their vision, as far as like from a 360. If you look at a buck bedding in a 360 pattern, they can see a majority of that. Even if there is some sort of obstacle behind them, they can see a majority of them in front. It's crazy.
Like I'll throw a weird analogy at you. Like when I'm trying to explain buck bedding to someone who's very very new to it. When you were a child playing hide and go seek, did you hide underneath the bed? That way, when the person who was it found you, you were pretty much dead to rights and you were it. Or did you hide around the corner, and that way, when they walk past you could run the base, and you were safe. You had your escape route. You don't hide underneath the bed, because if you get caught, you're killed or you're it, in that situation.
Yep. Yeah, I can't agree more, because when I hunted, in the spots that I hunt in Pennsylvania, it's the same exact way. There's hiking trails everywhere, and the buck beds just aren't that far off the trail, and it's definitely a visual thing. So I think. Oh,
they keep tabs 100%.
Yeah, I mean they're definitely using all their senses when it comes to staying alive. So.
Yeah, and I don't know how much bucks. Actually move, depending on the wind. Sometimes I feel like if they just visually feel they're safe, they will hold up, even if you get like the midday wind shift and stuff. I mean, we'll try it on the midday wind shifts. We'll give it a go, but I really think that like on public pressured land, they hold up. They just hold tight and just stick to what they can see and what they know is their safe bubble, I guess you could say.
Yep. Yeah, I completely agree. So that kind of takes us through some of the early season. What are you guys doing, I guess, during a rut when you're in the mid-season? What's your focus there?
All right. So another thing I'll throw in during the early season,
Sure,
is if I'm going into, so I have a lot of pieces that I know well because I've just been through them in the past, and I know where the does are at. I know where the does bed. I can just see where does bed just based on thick areas and whatnot. And so I know those areas, but we'll go into new pieces sometimes just on foot, no stands, and we'll just basically be on a mission to find does. And then we find them, and then we applicate, that knowledge in that beginning phases of the rut, late October, because I think bucks they kind of make their rounds on these doe bedding areas, like late October, early November. Like they know that they're not ready to breed, but they will kind of make their rounds.
They got to keep tabs on those does.
Yeah, they will make sure that those are in there that year and make sure that those didn't get, crazy bumped out from a squirrel hunter who's hunting the piss out of one spot or something. And so the bucks will kind of make their rounds late October, early November on all these doe bedding areas. So that time of year we're hunting, I guess you could say, like within doe bedding, in between transition from a couple doe bedding areas to another.
Yeah.
And then later into the rut is when we're going to hunt the downwind side of the doe bedding and the I guess you could say above them if you're talking thermals and all that stuff. That's a little bit later.
Yep.
I personally really like to hunt. Everyone talks about hunting funnels and pinch points, and that's great and all. But one thing like we key in on is, okay, can you find a funnel or pinch point that's like between multiple doe bedding areas, or like between a known doe feeding area, such as an acorn flat or a dominant field. Everyone can look at a map and be like, oh, hunt pinch points. Well, that's great. But I like to put multiple factors in my favor. And even during the rut then too, we'll key in on some of like the big woods, like the wind tunnel effect. Can we find the best pinch point in between a few doe bedding areas, knowing that the wind's out of direction X and this is going to be where he wants to be, so he can smell above him and below him, working that kind of top 1/3 shelf.
Yep. And so we use hunt stands a lot, like on our phones. We use some Onyx, but we use hunt stand a lot. It's a little bit more user friendly for us at least. And we make sure to mark all the doe bedding we find and all the potential doe bedding. And so you mark that, and then when it's mapped out, like it becomes a little bit more visually clear to you. Like, okay, like I can see this buck running this route in order to check. He could run, let's say, I don't know, a mile, and he could check 6 doe bedding areas or potential doe bedding areas. Like once it's visually mapped out, it helps. I know, if you're marking waypoints and stuff on your hunt stand or on your Onyx, make sure to mark those doe bedding areas because it just really gives you a really good overview visual of the area so you can, pick these spots.
Yeah, no, and I completely agree with that. I know a big thing that I do, and Byron, I think you kind of hit on it a little bit, was when I'm scouting out areas, the first thing I'm doing is hitting those maps. I start with the topo layer, hit all of those things that coincide with beast tactics, and then I flip on the satellite layer, and I'm putting on, I'm looking at all those cover change features that I want to key on, or funnels or pinch points. And then I really start to key in on those areas that have more than one waypoint that I've marked on there. And if I find areas that are just concentrated where I've thrown a bunch of waypoints at it, that's kind of where I always start my looking as I'm getting out there on the ground. So definitely like when you said you're keying in on multiple areas like that.
Yeah, got to stack that deck in your favor.
Absolutely.
And early season, earlier in October, don't be afraid to put some boots on the ground and find them does. If you bump them out there, it's public land. Those deer are getting bumped all the time. Those does will come back to that spot. Get boots on the ground, bump does, bump a group of does, find out where they're bedding at, and then then guess what? A month later, I know where to be now.
Yeah. Joe, something Dave kind of just touched on there with bumping does. Another thing we kind of do in early season to set us up for a little bit better late, or what I'll call rut, we will kind of be selective as far as doe harvest. If we have a group of what I'll call, like, let's say 5 does, a group of does come by us, we may elect not to shoot because we just learned where a bigger population of does is bedding and utilizing an area. That's huge. That's how you can kill a big deer in the rut, So those are the kind of instances where Dave may look back at me and be like, dude, this is a group of 5. I think we got to let them walk. And I'll be like, yeah, kind of sucks. But, you just gained huge intel on where, a big buck could become a month later.
No, that's a great tip. For your doe harvest, are you, I guess, are you a little opportunistic on it? If you've got a smaller group that comes through, you're going to take it in early season, or do you leave a lot of your doe work for late season, or kind of when do you fit it in there?
You want to talk on that rule change?
Yeah. So Ohio just had a rule change this year, and I'm not the happiest about it myself because I would normally leave that doe harvest till late season, like
gun season.
Yeah, gun season or later. So we have an initial 1-week gun season that starts the Monday after Thanksgiving, and it's a week-long shotgun season. Shotgun or muzzleloader. Actually, I guess now you can use a couple different cartridges and stuff now.
Oh, wow.
But then 2 weeks later, we have like a 2-day. It's just a 1 weekend shotgun season. And then beginning of January, we have a 4-day muzzleloader season. So I used to, just no interest in shooting a doe early season, basically until gun season. And then, that's when I'll get my freezer meat, you could say. But now Ohio just changed the rule on public land. You cannot shoot a doe after the end of the first gun season.
Wow.
So it's kind of upsetting because if I tag a buck, during a rut or whatever, you're telling me I can no longer hunt for 2 months. The last 2 months of the season, you're not even allowing me to hunt.
Wow.
So I'm going to be scouting and busting squirrels and rabbits and just ruining a bunch of other people's hunts, unfortunately. But it's what you're making me do.
What do you think their reasoning is on that?
It's because a lot of shed bucks got shot last season.
Yeah, and I think too. I'll call it in the early mid 2000s here in Ohio. They were pretty liberal on doe harvest limits per county. You could shoot a lot of does in different counties, and I think they're now backtracking that decision. I'm okay with that law change, especially in what I'll call some of the bigger sections of Ohio public. There's a lot of groups that come in and just deer drive and blast does, especially that second gun season weekend, and even muzzleloader. I think it'll definitely benefit some areas of Ohio, and I'm pretty pumped about it. In some areas, obviously, it's going to change our strategy. Dave and I are both going to have to be a little more opportunistic, and we may have some more what I'll call doe hunts where we're going in specifically to hunt, a doe.
The second half of that law is you can only shoot one doe on public per year in Ohio, period.
Wow.
On public land.
And that's new as well?
Well, yeah.
It just passed like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But like I said, we're fine with that. But now you're making me.
You're making me shoot it.
If I got that couple does that come by like October 20th, normally I would let them walk. But now I'm like, well, I'm not going to have too much longer to shoot a doe. Like I might as well take one now.
Yeah.
It changes a little bit of that mindset.
Yeah, that's
But in the past, we've definitely been opportunistic in the past. Like if we were on the ground or, I do some work with
close to the road. Yeah,
and I do some hunting with a stick bow. So, if we got an opportunity when I got the recurve in my hands, then I'm going to take one. So we've been opportunistic in the past, but this year we'll have to be a little bit more strategic.
Yeah, definitely sounds like it. That's interesting. Is that going to change, given these new rules, is that going to change how you're approaching your late season hunting? If you haven't harvested anything or, what you're looking for by then, when you get to hunt that late season, what are you thinking about going into it now?
Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah, we'll definitely. So we'll keep out of areas that that we still think are holding good bucks for the people on the team, I guess, and the buddies that we have who haven't harvested yet. But you know, if we've harvested a buck, you know, we're either going to be filming or we're going to be, you know, scouting, which you know,
or maybe bouncing over to Indiana.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's another thing we've been discussing. Indiana is a neighboring state of ours. They got a pretty cheap tag over there. And if this rule sticks here for a long time, you know, at least for me and Byron, the Indiana tag might just be like a yearly thing. Because we can drive 3.5, 4 hours away and be in Indiana and be hunting. You know, I could wake up at 1 a.m. and drive over there and be in a tree stand before daylight and hunt one day and drive home if I want to.
Yeah, Joe, we traditionally drive at least an hour, if not more, most of the times an hour and a half to hunt public. So, you know, that's a set the alarm at like 2:40, get out the door as close as you can to 3 and meet at location A and roll to public land spot B as a group. So yeah, we're not foreign to the get up and not run on many hours of sleep.
Yeah, I can definitely appreciate that because my the closest piece of public that I hunt is about an hour and a half. But the difference for me is that if I drove 3.5 hours to hunt in any direction, I'm still in New York. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. You know, a lot of people don't realize. A lot of people are, you know, can wake up at 5 o'clock and just, you know, drive there 20 minutes or walk out their back door and be in the woods well before daylight. And when you got to drive to your spot, I mean, that's a whole nother aspect to it.
Well, then you got to stand before dark and hike in.
Then you got to drive home, and then you know, get up early and do it again the next day. I mean, it gets tough.
The struggle is
real. It really
real.
does. Yeah, I mean, you go for, I mean, you know, because I mean,
we got one guy on the team. He takes his shifts as far as like hunting. He'll go 3 days and go back to work because technically when he goes to work, he sleeps in.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, that's true.
But,
yep.
And some of our high school buddies know where we hunt, but they also don't want to get up at, you know, 2:40 in the morning and drive down there, hike in a mile and hang a stand in the dark. Because you at least got to be in some physical shape to do it, and let alone the mental strength to do it day after day.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely with you on that one. I mean, it's not easy.
And a lot of your, like, I would say your diehard public guys are pretty respectful. So if they pull up to a spot and see a vehicle, they're not going to go in there. So early bird gets the worm as far as parking spots, definitely. I mean, you hunt public, you know how that goes.
Oh yeah.
But you do got your, like, what we call Dickie Mo's. Yeah, we call them Dickie Mo's. They're just the guys who just, you know, they're just out there just hunting. They didn't really know what they're doing. You know, that's fine. You know, they'll come park right behind us and they'll go hunt. But they're only hunting 100 yards, you know, off the trailhead or whatever it may be. And, you know, we really don't, we don't mind them too much. You know, like if we see, like, we might come out, we might go and hunt a morning spot, come out at lunch and see 3 other trucks there, and you got a bunch of guys sitting around trucks, and we'll go talk to them and bullshit with them for a little bit. And if we can realize that they're really not like diehard hunters, doesn't mind me a bit that we got 3 trucks of guys hunting the same piece.
Yeah.
Not one bit. That's not going to deter me a little because those guys ain't calling the big bucks. You know.
I get a little more worried when I see the out-of-state guy come in.
Yeah, who probably knows what he's doing.
Who's invested some gas to get there, some money. He's generally a little more versed as far as a hunter.
Yeah, don't worry when you guys see my truck out there. What? So thinking about this year, what do you guys got planned coming up for 2018? Well, 18 into 19, I guess.
Well, we miraculously killed 2 birds, so we're off to a good start.
That's a good start.
Dave's got a big trip coming up, Dave.
Yeah. I'm going to I'm gonna go to South Dakota this year. Me and El Diablo, or Andy, our number 3 guy. We call him El Diablo. He eats hot sauce from Taco Bell, and he's got a big old fire ginger beard, so it just fits that his name's El Diablo. But me and him are going to South Dakota this year. We're going to go early season. And we're just going to give that a go. You know, I don't know why we chose South Dakota, but we did. It's new country. It's different terrain. It's just going to be completely different. And we're just going to go out there and give it a go. And we're going out there for a week. Yeah, we're going to go out there for a week and try. Hopefully we don't get bit by a rattlesnake. And we'll be good, I think.
Yeah. And then I think I'm going to spend the last week in October. Dave says he's coming. And Kyle said, hey, I'm coming as well. So I guess there's 3 of us now going to go over to Indiana the last week of October. And may bounce back to there in the later half of the sorry about that. Later half of November due to their firearm season, and almost use that more as an additional scouting time if we get tagged out here in Ohio. So a couple out-of-state trips planned for us, and obviously we got Ohio's kind of our main anchor. But yeah, it should be a good season. We got a couple new pieces we're excited about. You know, it's we've been really close the past few years to having like a year where we drop, everybody kills a buck. The first year we literally have myself kill, but literally we're 3 or 4 inches from having another, I don't know, a couple Pope and Young deer on the ground on public land. And then last year was a nice year. We called it the year of redemption. You know, we killed 2 nice bucks. Dave also anchored us in with a doe, and I killed a doe off a boat access. So yeah, it seems like, you know, this could be the year where we all tag out and really put something together that people are going to want to see.
Yeah. I also missed 2 bucks last year within like 5 minutes. I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, man. Makes me almost want to ask you about it.
Oh, it's funny. I ended up killing the second deer he missed.
Oh, jeez. Pour a little salt in the wound, Byron.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a story right there in itself. So he misses a giant, and then he said that, you know, another deer of roughly Pope and Young level comes in, and he was like, "Hey, I would have been happy to wrap my tag around it," and misses it with some debacle. And we go back in there for gun season. I'm like, "You're up first. I'll film you. Like, you know, this is kind of like your spot. You know, you kind of discovered it." And he shoots a real nice doe, like an hour into the hunt. And so we kind of switch, and we were content to kill 2 does that day. We both needed meat in the freezer. And like an hour after his harvest, here comes this, you know, 125, 130 inch buck. And at first we're like, "Oh, he's too small. He's a 2.5-year-old. And then he looks right at us, and Dave goes, "Dude, you better shoot this deer." And there's a mad scramble. We get him shot, and I thought I dead missed. But, you know, we ended up pulling him out, and Dave looks at him on the ground for like probably a minute and doesn't say anything. And he looks at me and goes, "Dude, I missed this deer 2 weeks ago."
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know what happened. So I guess I have to explain now, unfortunately. So the big one comes in, you know, he's like 18 yards. He's coming right at me. He's uphill from me. He's coming downhill to me. Not the direction I expected any deer to come from. Of course, the big buck comes from. I mean, I don't know how big he was exactly. You know, you just see the frame. You see him on the hoof. You know, I would say roughly 150 plus. Big deer. I got him like 17 yards, like quartering to me. I'm fully drawn back. I'm the guy who preaches to other people, and I say, "Dude," I say, "take the first shot you get, period, because you may not get your next." I preach that. But I saw the trail he was on, and I'm like, "Dude, in 3 steps, I'm going to have him broadside. Like, I'm going to pass on this shoulder shot because in 3 steps, I got him broadside." And he takes 2 steps, gets a whiff of something, and is gone faster than I've seen a buck be gone. There was no stop, look up, smell, nothing. It was just 2 steps, I'm out of here. Wow. And he booked it. I was pissed about that. I was pouting as you could ever see somebody pout. I was about to leave the tree. I was like, you know, screw this hunt. I'm out of here. From the other direction, I hear noise. I look over. Here's another good buck coming in. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, there's no way. And so he comes in, and he gets like 20. He's following this perfect trail. You know, he's 20 yards. I stop him. I was rattled on the first one. On this buck, I wasn't rattled. Like, I was calm as it gets. You know, like all my adrenaline had worn off. I was calm. He was a lot smaller of a buck, but still a very good public land buck. Squeeze it off. The arrow went like 4 feet left. Oh, I still to this day don't know what happened. I never found the arrow. there must have been like a fletching ripped off. It was kind of chilly. Maybe my sleeve got caught up in the cables or something. I didn't feel the string slap my arm. To this day, I don't know what it was. But that buck goes out and stands there at like 35, 40 yards. And I knock another arrow, and I'm like, you know what? Like, I just missed him at point blank range, like 4 feet left. Like, I can't let this next arrow fly, unfortunately. And so I don't. And then I leave. As soon as he walks away, I leave, and I hit a target range on the way home. I literally stopped at a target range, so I got to figure out what's wrong with my bow. And I shot and hit dead nuts. And I'm just like, there must have been something wrong with that arrow, or that shot, something happened. Twig that I didn't see. I didn't see no twigs shaking after the shot. I don't know what it was. It was one of my worst days hunting.
Oh my goodness.
I've missed a few big bucks though. I know I've had some debacles in the woods. I will admit that.
Man, what time of year was that they both came in?
That was like later.
Third week of November.
Oh, no
yeah,
kidding.
it was 17th through 20th or so, I'd say. Which
that's when I had my encounter this year.
These last few years of hunting, I've realized that later Drury has a name for it.
Final Seek.
Desperately Seeking.
Yeah, Desperately Seeking.
Mark Drury has a name for it in that like 13th thing. They call it Desperately Seeking or whatever you want to call it. That later rut period where most does have been bred. That's when you get the bucks who have traveled from miles, and they're just looking and looking and looking.
And generally they're big because they've kind of bred everything in their tighter home range, and now they're expanding. Dave and I both had encounters late November, third-ish week. We'll call it Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Like I'm to the point I'm debating on pocketing a day during the classic rut to throw in the Thanksgiving time frame.
Yeah, I would almost say it's better. It's you'll have definitely less
sightings.
Yeah, less sightings, but that's when you're going to get them big deer that you've never seen before that are cruising miles and miles and miles. It's going to be that third weekish of November.
Wow, no kidding. Yeah, I'm usually hoping to be done and out of the woods by then, and already thinking about next year.
Yeah, aren't we all?
Yeah, that's the idea. Never seems to work out like that, though. Well, we've been jawing for hard to believe over an hour here. Before I let you guys go, because I don't want to be sensitive to your time, where can everybody find your info and follow along? And I know you guys got a bunch of stuff going on, so list them off for everybody to hunt you down.
Yeah. I think the best place as far as the day-to-day consumption is on Instagram. We're at the Whitetail Experience, black and orange logo. It's Whitetail_Experience. Posting some stuff there, like short, what I'll call minute videos, photos. If you follow our stories, you'll get some debacles there. And then obviously Facebook, but YouTube is another big one. Like if you go over to our YouTube page, hit the subscribe button or scroll through our videos, got a couple past hunts. Like I said, we have the hunt journals from this year, which is 2 to 4 minute scouting videos per week. We also got some product reviews there where we break down. I know a big one on there is we break down the XOP Vanish versus the Lone Wolf Assault, which is great. That video gets a lot of compliments as far as guys looking to buy. And that's definitely the main places to check us out. And if anyone ever has a question or a comment, by all means, share it. And I appreciate anyone that gives us a follow or a like at any point in time. That's huge to us. I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, please. So everybody listening, go on, look these guys up everywhere, and they've got some really good content, and hit subscribe and follow and everything else that goes on across all their social medias and YouTube and stuff. So guys, I really appreciate you coming on. It was a blast to talk to you and learn how you guys are getting it done out there in the state that I'm looking to visit this year. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, Joe, I hope you have success, man, or at least keep us posted on what you're seeing. I'll definitely reach out after your trip and see how it goes.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm, like I said, I'm scouting in August and hunting early October. So I'm hoping to miss out on some of the pressure and hopefully come across something good's the idea. But I'm just happy to get into a new area and see what else there is out there.
Give us a text or a call in August.
Yeah, if you're passing through Columbus, we'd link up.
Yeah, will do, man. Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Well, I'll close this down, but if you guys want to hold on a minute, I'll chat with you in just a sec.
Sounds good.
Thanks, guys. There we go. Another episode down. Thank you to Byron and Dave for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. You guys just kind of heard a fraction of Byron, Dave, and I's conversation. You got about an hour block of it, but in all reality, the three of us talked for like 2.5 to almost 3 hours. It was, and we talked about a little bit of everything. It was really a lot of fun, and I'm going to have these guys on the show again for sure at some point. But I really appreciate both of them for taking time out of their schedules. I know they're busy guys to come on the show and talk a little deer hunting with me. I always enjoy it. If you're enjoying the content that I'm trying to put out here, and the content that we're putting out on Hunting the Empire as well on the website, but for this, the content that I'm getting, these people I'm getting on the podcast and the information that we're getting out there for you, if you're enjoying it, please leave a review or a rating. I'd prefer both, but I'll take one or the other. I know y'all are busy people too, and it means a lot to me that you take, an hour to sometimes more out of your day each week to listen to me yammer on here. But I appreciate it. I really do. Appreciate what y'all do. I do this for you. I do it for me too, because I enjoy talking to all these hunters and learning stuff myself. But, I started it for all you. So I hope you're getting something out of it. I'm having a blast. I hope you are. So please go on, leave a rating and review for wherever you get your podcast from. Hit up huntingtheempire.com if you guys haven't gone there. We're cranking out new content all the time. My guys, I'm cracking the whip on them. I love them all. They're getting some articles and videos and stuff out. We're putting them on our YouTube channel. So go to huntingtheempire.com. That's kind of the hub for all of our information. There you'll find the articles and the podcast episodes as well we put there, and all the videos that we have on our YouTube channel all kind of docked there as well. So if you just want kind of one spot to go to, huntingtheempire.com. If you're kind of bouncing around all different forums, you can hit us up on Facebook. We've got a Facebook page and a Facebook group. Please join on in. I'd love to know where more listeners are out there. I know there's a lot. I've got a lot of listeners for these podcasts, and I'd love to interact with all of you. So please join us on social media. Look us up on Facebook. Look us up on Instagram. That's kind of our main daily activity, but I get on all the platforms as much as I can. You can find me on The Hunting Beast. I know we talked about it again. We talk about it on almost every episode, but I just kind of, that's what I do, and love the guys over there. It's a great forum. So if you're on The Hunting Beast, look me up, Average Joe with a Bow. If you're on SaddleHunter.com, the forum there, same name, Average Joe with a Bow. And I'm pretty active on both. I've been more active lately on the SaddleHunter forum there, because I'm thinking about getting one. No surprise at the previous episode to this. And if you haven't checked that one out, please do, with Jared, also known as Flinging Arrows, on all the platforms out there. So also go to thehuntingbeast.com and check out the forum there. I think I mentioned it. But again, really appreciate all the support that you guys give me. Had a lot of people reach out to me in the past few weeks, inquiring about episodes and giving suggestions, and I take them. I appreciate any suggestions, or anytime somebody reaches out to me and gives me any kind of feedback. It's kind of when I sit in silence and I don't know what's going on out there. So if you guys like what you're hearing, rating, review is always appreciated, but drop me a line. I answer back pretty quick to anybody that I can. I love to interact with everybody out there, and kind of, I'm curious to see everybody's out there in the Hunting the Empire Nation, because we got listeners from all over the globe. So if you're tuning in, go hunt us down on social media and reach out. I'd love to talk to you, see what you're all doing out there and what you're doing this off season and just kind of what you're doing. You know, I'll leave it at that. I don't want to beat a drum here, but huntingtheempire.com. And thanks again to Byron and Dave for coming on the show. And as always, thank you to our partners at Lone Wolf Tree Stands, best tree stands on the planet, Onyx Maps and Onyx Hunt. Can't live without that app. I'm on it every day, especially with this upcoming Ohio trip this year. I'm all over that thing. And Allen Company for awesome products that they have. If you haven't checked out the most recent article, I'll say this before I go. If you haven't checked out the most recent article that Ruben Doherty, Common Ground Bow Hunter, did for Hunting the Empire on a review between a couple of bow cases from the Allen Company that he picked up, if you're in the market for a case, check out that article, but also check out byallen.com. at the Allen Company, because a lot of people just don't think about them offhand, but they've got some really great products at awesome prices, and they're good quality stuff. I wouldn't lie to you on that, even though they're a partner. All my partners are products that I use and that I trust in, or they wouldn't be a partner. Titanium archery products. Speaking of another great one, I believe in what they got going on. And Sam's an awesome dude over there. He knows what he's talking about. As you heard in a few podcasts ago when I had Sam on the show, the guy knows what he's talking about. He's passionate about customer service and getting you high performance pieces for your bow. He's got a bunch going on other than stabilizers. So if you're in the market for a stabilizer, sidebars, he's got quick disconnects. He's got those boosters for the cameras there. I'm losing it off the top of my head. Those cameras anyway, you guys know what I'm talking about. Go check out Titanium Archery Products. If you go there, use not a hashtag. You can if you want to, but it's promo code HTE15. HTE15 saves you 15%. Go there and check it out. I had a conversation, I believe it was off air, with Dave, who was looking for a new stabilizer. And Dave, I know you're going to listen to this, so you can hit me up afterwards for joking on you here. But Dave was giving me a bunch of grief because he didn't want to go out and spend like $100 or close to it on a stabilizer, even though he's got like $1,000 bow. Do yourself a favor. Check it out. You will not be disappointed. And I'm not saying that because they're a partner of this program. They're a partner because I believe in what they got going on and I'm a user of their products, as I am, again, with all of our partners. Titanium Archery Products is a real deal. That stabilizer, I got the Element X on my Ritual. It made a dead bow even deader. That thing is so quiet and dead in the hand, it's ridiculous. But I had a tap stabilizer on my Carbon Defiant. Ruben's used one on a couple of his bows, even an older bow, and it made that bow noticeably quieter and different. Don't go out, don't get a $1,000 bow or a $1,500 bow and then buy a $40 or $50 piece of rubber to throw on the front of it because it looks nice. Go spend a couple extra bucks, save up your money and get something worth getting. Titanium Archery Products. It's a performance piece of equipment. If you're going to shoot a performance bow, why not put a performance stabilizer on it? Dave, Byron, kill me, brothers. Go to Titanium Archery Products. Use HTE15, saves you 15%. Tell them Joe sent you. I like my brother Sam over there. He's such a good guy. And support Sam. Support Lone Wolf. Support Onyx and Allen Company. They support me and everybody else on Hunting the Empire. Please, if you're in the market for any products that they have, think about them, think about us, and give them a shot. Until next time, Joe out.